Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are staring directly into the face of a belief that I think every single one of us has held at some point. It's about work.
It's about effort.
It's about effort. And honestly, it's about this really specific image that I found in our source material today that it hit me right in the gut.
That's a powerful one.
It really is. So, I want you to picture this. You know that guy at the gym. It is 5 o'clock in the morning.
Pitch black.
Pitch black, yeah. The sun isn't even up. And this guy is just hammering the heavy bag. I mean, his knuckles are bleeding. He's drenched in sweat. He's gasping for air. He finishes that, showers in like 3 minutes, rushes to a 9-to-5 job, maybe works through lunch, does some overtime, and drags himself home just completely exhausted.
Yeah.
He is, by every cultural definition, the hardest worker in the room.
Right. He's the archetype of the grinder. He is doing everything right, according to all those posters on Instagram.
Exactly. But here's the kicker, and this is where the source material just grabs you by the collar. Why does that same guy, the one giving 110% effort, still have to check his bank balance before he buys a $5 coffee?
That is the uncomfortable question, isn't it? And it highlights this glitch in the matrix that I think most people are terrified to even look at.
It feels like a violation of a contract. I mean, we are raised on this belief, this almost religious equation that effort equals reward. So if you're not winning, if you're not wealthy, the diagnosis is always the same.
You just aren't working hard enough.
You just aren't working hard enough.
Grind harder. Sleep when you're dead. It's the universal prescription. But today, we're looking at a deep dive into a podcast called Money Mindset. Specifically an episode titled The Hard Work Trap with hosts Jax and Leo. And their mission and, our mission today is to dismantle that lie. They argue that working hard in the traditional sense might actually be the very thing keeping people broke.
Wow. That is a heavy claim. It feels almost heretical to say that, like we're breaking a commandment or something. I mean, are they saying we should be lazy? Because my grandfather would rise from the grave if I said hard work was a trap.
And that's the knee-jerk reaction, right? That's what Jax and Leo anticipate.
Yeah.
So let's be really precise here about what the source is saying. They aren't advocating for laziness.
Okay.
They aren't saying hard work isn't required. They are saying that hard work is a floor, not a ladder.
A floor, not a ladder. Okay, distinguish that for me.
So hard work is the prerequisite. It's the cost of entry to play the game. You can't achieve anything without it. But the error, the trap, is believing that hard work is the variable that determines how high you climb.
Believing that more effort automatically means more reward.
Exactly. It's thinking that if you just double the sweat, you automatically double the wealth. And the source material argues that it's just mathematically false.
So we're looking at a physics problem, not a moral one.
Precisely. And this brings us to their first core concept: linear logic versus leverage logic. And honestly, when I first read it, I was thinking, does this mean the guy working 3 jobs to put food on the table is doing it wrong? Is he lazy? Because that just feels so unfair.
It does.
And the source, specifically Jax, he addresses that head on. He says absolutely not. Those people are incredibly disciplined. They are often working harder than anyone, but they're stuck in a physics problem.
They're stuck in linear logic.
Yeah, and this is where that analogy of the hole comes in, which I loved. It's so simple, but it explains everything.
It really does.
So imagine 2 people. They're tasked with moving a huge pile of dirt. Person A, let's call him the spoon digger, is using a spoon.
A literal soup spoon.
A literal spoon. Now, look at his effort. He is on his hands and knees. He's scraping. He's sweating. His back is screaming. He is physically exerting himself to the absolute max.
Right. You look at him and you say, wow, that guy is dedicated. You'd probably promote him.
Exactly. Now, look at person B. Person B is sitting in the air-conditioned cab of an excavator. They're moving a joystick with, 2 fingers, sipping a water bottle.
Doing a fraction of the physical work.
A tiny fraction. But in one single scoop, they move more dirt than the spoon digger moves in a month.
So the spoon digger is working harder, but the excavator is getting 1,000 times the result.
That is the difference between effort and leverage. The market doesn't pay for effort. It pays for value. It pays for the pile of dirt being moved. The spoon digger is working harder, but the excavator is valuable.
Okay, that makes sense on a construction site, but let's bring this back to the real world because nobody is actually digging with a spoon. What does spoon digging look like in a modern career?
Spoon digging is linear income. It's any setup where your income is directly tied to your time. So if you're a barista, you're spoon digging. But here's the nuance the source really leans into. If you are a high-paid lawyer billing by the hour, you're also spoon digging.
Wait, really? Because we don't usually think of the lawyer making $300 an hour as being in a trap.
They might have a bigger spoon, maybe a gold-plated shovel, but they're still limited by the exact same physics. They have to show up to get paid. If they stop digging, the money stops. And more importantly, there's a hard ceiling.
The ceiling
It is a hard ceiling. It's just physics. You literally cannot work more than 24 hours a day. Time is finite. So if your strategy for wealth is just add more hours, you will eventually hit a wall where you literally cannot earn any more money.
No matter how much you suffer.
No matter how much. You run out of time before you run out of ambition.
So the shift that needs to happen, and this is what Jax and Leo were arguing, is moving from asking, how can I work more, to something else.
So how can I decouple my time from my output?
Decouple, that's the key word.
Yes, that is the golden question. It's about building a system or building an excavator, to stick with the analogy, that does the work without requiring your constant linear presence.
Building the excavator in this context meaning,
Cool.
Give me a concrete example.
An excavator is a system. It's code, it's media, it's capital, a business structure. For example, writing a book is an excavator. You write it once, that's the hard work, but then it sells while you sleep.
Right.
Writing code for an app is an excavator. Investing in real estate is an excavator.
So you front load the hard work to build the machine so the machine can then do the work for you later.
Correct. The shift Jax and Leo are calling for is to stop asking, how can I get a raise? And start asking, how can I build a machine?
That is a massive mindset shift, especially because, let's be honest, building the machine is risky. The spoon feels safe. I know if I dig for an hour, I get my $20.
And that safety is so addictive. But before we get to the psychology of why we stay stuck, I want to pivot to something else that was in the source, because I think this applies to even more people. Even if you aren't working 3 jobs, even if you have a decent salary, there's this other trap.
The identity tax.
The identity tax. Oh, this one is fascinating. And it's a little painful because I've definitely been guilty of it.
I think we all have.
It stops looking at how we earn money and starts looking at how we burn it. The source sets up this scenario that I think we've all seen. A young guy gets his first big paycheck, maybe a promotion, maybe a bonus. And what is the physiological reaction to that money hitting his account?
Panic.
In a way, yeah. A compulsion to get rid of it. He immediately goes out and leases a German car, or buys the designer sneakers, or upgrades to the luxury apartment.
I worked hard. I deserve a treat.
That's the narrative, right?
Exactly. But the source calls this the identity tax. It's the cost of trying to look like the man before you have actually become the man.
That is a killer line, looking like the man before becoming the man.
Right. Jax asks, why does a guy making $40,000 a year wear a $500 belt?
And the answer isn't because it holds his pants up better. A $20 belt does that just fine.
No. It's because he is buying a membership to a club he can't actually afford. He wants to signal to the tribe, I have resources, I am safe, I am successful, even if his bank account says the complete opposite.
It's flash masking fragility. That is exactly how they put it. Flash masking fragility. But here's where it gets really interesting and, frankly, a little terrifying. The source reframes what money actually is. We tend to think of money as, purchasing power.
Right. Money is for spending. That's the default mode.
But the source argues that money is not for spending. Money is for buying freedom.
Yeah.
And when you spend it on status symbols, you're doing the opposite. You're actually selling your freedom.
They used an analogy about wearing your life on your feet that really stuck with me. Can you break that down, make it hurt?
This is the life on your feet calculation.
Yeah.
Let's say you want those new sneakers. They're $200. And let's say you earn $20 an hour after tax.
Okay. Following the math.
200 divided by 20 is 10. When you swipe that card, you aren't just spending $200. You are handing over 10 hours of your life.
Oh, wow.
You are taking a full workday, plus your commute, plus your lunch break, and you are freezing it into a piece of leather and rubber.
You are literally wearing 10 hours of your existence on your feet.
And you can never get those hours back. They're gone. Now scale that up. The car, it's 2 years of your life parked in the driveway. The house you can barely afford. That's 20 years of your life.
Yeah.
The source argues that when you view purchases through the lens of time traded, the identity tax becomes horrifying.
It completely flips the script on I deserve this. You start thinking, do I deserve to lose a week of my freedom for this handbag?
Precisely. And the cruel irony is that the more stuff you buy to look wealthy, the more stuck you become in the spoon digger trap. You have to keep digging to make the payments on that lifestyle.
You build a prison out of luxury goods.
The golden handcuffs, although, as the source notes, they're usually made of cheap tin. We just polish them until they look like gold.
That is a tough pill to swallow. But I think it leads us to the root cause. Because why do we do this? Why do we feel this need to spend? And why are we so afraid to take risks, to put down the spoon? The source talks about scarcity and the monkey jar.
Yes, this goes deep into psychology. It usually starts in childhood.
The classic phrase is right. Money doesn't grow on trees.
Do you think I'm made of money? Exactly. Who do you think we are, Rockefellers? When you hear that growing up, it installs what the expert in the source calls a scarcity shield. You view money as this finite, rare thing you have to hoard.
And how does that play out when you're an adult? Let's say a 22-year-old trying to figure out their career.
It makes you play not to lose rather than playing to win. This is crucial. If you are playing not to lose, you will stay in a dead-end job because the $3,000 a month you know is coming feels safer than the potential $30,000 you might make if you started a business.
Even if that job makes you miserable, it's the devil you know.
It is. And to explain this, the source uses the monkey jar analogy. Have you heard this one?
I have, but never applied to career strategy. It's brutal.
It is. It's a classic trap used by hunters. You take a heavy jar with a really narrow neck, and you put a nut or a piece of fruit inside. The monkey comes along, smells the food, reaches his hand in, and grabs the nut.
He makes a fist.
He makes a fist. But, and here's the physics again, his fist is now too wide to fit back through the neck of the jar. He's trapped.
But he's only trapped because he won't let go.
Exactly. The hunter just walks up. The monkey screams. He panics. He could so easily escape if he just opened his hand and dropped the nut. But he refuses. He is so focused on the one small thing he knows he has that he sacrifices his freedom, his future, everything. He gets caught because he won't let go.
Man, so in this deep dive, the nut is the salary.
The nut is a salary. The nut is the job title. The nut is the phrase, I'm busy. It's the comfort of the routine. The forest represents the abundance you could have if you built something of your own, but you can't have both. You have to let go of the nut to get to the forest.
That brings up a really provocative point that Jackson Leo discussed, and I think this might trigger some people. I know it triggered me a little. They suggested that busyness can actually be a form of laziness.
Yes, this is the heavy hitter.
Explain that. Because if I'm working 12 hours a day, keeping the lights on, stressed out of my mind, calling me lazy feels like a slap in the face.
And it's not physical laziness. They are very clear on that. It's emotional laziness. The argument is that it is emotionally easier to grind for 12 hours at a job you hate, where someone else tells you what to do, where the path is clear.
It's mapped out for you.
It's all mapped out.
Yeah.
It's easier to do that than it is to spend 2 hours doing the terrifying work of starting something of your own.
Because the blank page is terrifying.
Correct. Starting a business, learning a new skill, facing rejection, that is scary. Grinding at a job is just hard. And humans will almost always choose hard over scary. We use our busyness as a shield.
I'd love to start that side hustle, but I'm just so swamped at work.
Right. It becomes this noble excuse. It allows us to hide from the terrifying work of reinventing ourselves while still feeling like we are being productive.
It's hiding in plain sight, running on a hamster wheel because the running calms our anxiety, even if we aren't actually going anywhere.
That is the essence of the hard work trap. It is motion without progress.
Wow. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem here. We've got the linear income delusion, the spoon digging. We've got the identity tax spending for status. We've got the scarcity mindset holding onto the nut. If someone is listening to this right now, maybe in their car on the way to that job they feel stuck in, what is the shift? How do we move from being the hard worker to whatever the alternative is?
The alternative is being a builder. That's the shift the source advocates for. You stop identifying as a worker and someone who sells time, and you start identifying as a builder, someone who creates value systems.
That sounds great on a bumper sticker, but practically speaking, how does someone start that today? The source listed a couple of audits, which I thought were really actionable.
Yes, the first is a time audit. You need to look at your calendar for the last week and basically color code it. Red is spoon digging, trading time for money. Green is excavator building, creating something that can exist without you.
I'm guessing for most people that calendar is going to be 99% red.
And that's fine to start. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow. That would be dropping the nut without a plan. But can you make it 90% red and 10% green? Can you spend 30 minutes a day building an asset, writing the blog, recording the video, learning to code.
Even if it's just 30 minutes, the compound interest of that over a year is huge.
It's everything. Even 30 minutes of building leverage is worth more than hours of spoon digging in the long run. And the second audit is the circle audit.
Oof. This one is tough because it involves friends and family.
It does. You have to look at the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are they other spoon diggers? When you get together, do you just complain about how hard the dirt is? Do you complain about the boss? Or do you talk about ideas?
Normalization, that's the concept, right?
Yes. If everyone around you believes that the only way to make money is to get a second job or work more overtime, you will never even see the excavator. You need to be around people who normalize leverage. You need to be around people who think it's crazy not to be building something.
So you might need to curate your inputs. Listen to different podcasts, read different books, find a new tribe.
You have to protect your mindset like it's a fortress. Because the world is designed for spoon diggers. It wants you to pick up the spoon.
And finally, the source left us with a diagnostic question. And I'll be honest, when I asked myself this, I stopped cold. It's a reality check that just cuts through all the excuses.
It's the ultimate metric. The question is, if I stopped working today, how long would I survive?
If I stopped working today, how long would I survive? Not, how much money do I make?
Right. Wealth isn't a dollar amount. Wealth is a ratio of time. If you make $1 million a year, but you spend $1 million a year on the identity tax, and you have no assets, if you stop working today, you're broke tomorrow. Your survival time is 0.
Which means despite the fancy car and the belt, you are poor, you are precarious.
Exactly. But if you make $50,000 a year from assets, from your excavators, and your expenses are $40,000, you're infinitely wealthy. You could stop working today and survive forever.
That redefines the goal completely. The goal isn't get rich. The goal is get free.
Get free. Build the system. Put down the spoon.
I think that is the perfect place to leave it. This wasn't about dishonoring hard work. It was about directing that fire towards something that actually serves you rather than just tiring you out.
Work hard on the right thing. That's the secret.
Thank you all for listening to this deep dive. I hope you carry that question with you today. If you stopped working, how long would you survive? And if the answer stares you, well, you know what to do. Start building. We'll see you in the next one.